So if you want to join us and you haven't already, please sign up for that. We're going to begin today with a flag salute. And one of our board of directors, John Etheridge, will lead us in that. Here's the flag.
It's little. Let's stand and honor our flag today and those who served. And let's so say with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John. I would like to introduce our 4 guest speakers today and allow them to introduce themselves. We have Rudy Hubner, Patrick Harper, Steve Nagel, and Sean Diamond. We are going to pass the mic down, and you guys will each have about 2 or 3 minutes. Give us a short little background on yourselves. I'll start waving at you if you go too far over. Okay?
Thank you so much, Memory. Good afternoon. My name is Alicia Rudy Hubner, but please call me Rudy, and I'm a candidate for Fountain Valley City Council. So thank you so much for coming out here today. A little bit of background about myself. I grew up here in Fountain Valley. I attended Cox Elementary, Masuda Middle School, and graduated with honors from Fountain Valley High School. So to be here running in my hometown is really, really meaningful. And I hope that by bringing all of the skills and expertise I've gathered throughout my career, which includes living in Hawaii, owning a small business, teaching part-time. So I really, really appreciate the importance and the contributions of our educators and our local businesses in the community. I have a background in software development, and so I am really hoping to bring to the dais a unique understanding of technology and how that'll help move the city forward. I really feel that by taking advantage of the latest technology, we can help save money, identify new revenue streams, and make it easier to do business, to live, learn, work, and play in Fountain Valley. And so I very much look forward to your support and getting to know you more along this campaign trail. And again, I am Alicia Rudy Hubner. I am number 13 on the ballot, the very last name. And thank you so much. I'm going to pass it on to Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy. My name is Patrick Harper. I am candidate for City Council, currently serving as your mayor. Been on the council for the last 4 years, and it's been a great honor to serve Fountain Valley. My father was a veteran, served in the Navy, and my uncle was also in the Army, career Army person. So public service is something that is in our family, and I'm happy that I'm able to serve. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Northern California, went to school in UC Santa Barbara, and moved to LA most of my career life. And then in 2010, my wife and I moved to Fountain Valley. When the kids were little, their oldest was 5. And we moved here primarily because of the schools. Fountain Valley has great schools, and I always wanted to be able to have our kids go to a great public school system. And Fountain Valley has delivered. They're all 3 in high school right now. We're going to Fountain Valley High School. So we're very happy about that. Along the way, my wife and I, we're both CPAs. We opened up a business here in Fountain Valley, got involved in the Chamber of Commerce. That's one of the first things we did, of course. So important, Chamber of Commerce, go Chamber. Interestingly, as a result of being in the Chamber of Commerce, I met a number of people on the council, including the esteemed Steve Nagel, who said, "Hey, Patrick, you ever thought about running for city council?" And I said, "Well, not really, but maybe I should." And so he, with his mentorship and help, I was able to serve on the planning commission for 4 years, from 2014 to 18, and then 2018 got elected to the city council. And as we lived in Fountain Valley, grew up in the community, went to the schools and got to know the families in the city, we sort of got acquainted with the nice place to live aspect of Fountain Valley. And that's been, while I'm on the council, really every decision that I make, I ask myself two questions. Is this going to protect our quality of life and keep Fountain Valley a nice place to live? And those are my two guiding principles. And we've done a lot of great things in the first 4 years, which you'll hear more about as we get through the questions. But that's a little bit about myself, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Hello there, my name is Steve Nagel. I'm a former city council person here in the city for 12 years, and I'm sat out 2 years and I'm running again. My life began in Fountain Valley in 1977, and I came here to work from the Long Beach Fire Department to the Fountain Valley Fire Department. I worked through the ranks. I was a paramedic for 24 of my 33 years in the fire service, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the city. Having been the fire marshal, building manager the last 3 years of my career, I was able to be part of the administrative team, responsible for a large part of the city budget, and was able to learn a lot about that process, but also making sure that we stayed within our budget, just like I maintained while on the city council. It's very important that we make sure we watch our dollars that we spend. We do have Measure HH that was passed in 2016, and we want to make sure that that money will pay off our long-term debt by 2037. We're headed in that direction, but right now there's a little bit of a question how much money we may be short. We don't have a figure that's been determined yet. As far as I know, we have somebody coming back, David Kane, that may look at that and find out if we've missed any zeros in our numbers. So it's important that we make sure that we know what we're spending and not going overboard with how we spend our money. So anyway, I feel that I have a good sense of how the city works, and we've done a lot. When I was on the city council, we always had a balanced budget. So I will end there, and we will get into the questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean Diamond. I've lived in Fountain Valley since 1979, and I was all of 2 years old. Actually went to Harper Elementary School. Yes. It used to exist for kindergarten, and Courageous Fulton and Fountain Valley High School. I joined the Navy in 2000 and went out and experienced this great country in the service. And when I got out of the service, went on truck driving, continued to explore the country. And Fountain Valley has always been home to me, no matter where I've been. But I've had many great opportunities outside of Fountain Valley that I'd like now to bring back to our community and serving on city council. A big part of what I think is important is emergency communications, supporting our law enforcement, first responders, and also our teachers. I think those are some of the most unrepresented, underpaid priorities in our community. Not much else to say. I guess we'll see what else comes up with the questions. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so you all know that we have the official City Council Candidates Forum that will be broadcast live on PCTA on September 27th, where they will be quizzed with very thought out, well-defined questions. But today we wanted it to be much more personal and intimate setting, which is why we have these two events that lead up to it. So I'm gonna start off with one question from the chamber, and then I want you guys to be thinking about questions you wanna ask, and I'll bring the mic to you. So the first question from the Chamber of Commerce, it's going to be a quick one. We just want a 1 minute, maybe 2 minute answer. What will you do to help bring more business and make it easier for businesses to operate in Fountain Valley?
What I would do to make it easier to operate businesses in Fountain Valley is I am a big supporter of access to broadband internet. I know that for many, many years here in Fountain Valley, we've only had a single internet service provider, and that can be very, very limiting, especially when there are service outages. So I am in support of bringing in competitive ISPs so that we can have a greater choice for broadband internet access. This is something that will benefit businesses because there will be less downtime, and it will allow businesses to grow and modernize and bring in new technologies and new platforms that are going to help them do business better and also save money. And by having this greater choice, it also makes Fountain Valley more attractive to new business that are going to come in here and know that we are ready to be supporting the business needs of the 21st century.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Rudy has a good point there. Broadband internet is very important. One of the complaints that I get from residents is, hey, the internet service here is spotty or it's not good. And so on the city council about a year ago, we actually contracted with 2 companies to do just that, to install broadband fiber throughout the city. So we have Frontier Internet and also Sci-Fi that are digging up the roads, putting the infrastructure in right now to support the internet. So that's one way to support business. Also, the other one is customer service. When you go to the city, you need a permit or something, we want to make sure that it's done efficiently, quickly, and in a streamlined manner. Time is money for new businesses that want to open. So the quicker that we can get them open with less red tape, I think that's going to benefit us. The other thing that we do is we go out to different trade shows, and we're going to ICSC in San Diego. We just went to Las Vegas, and there we go talk to property managers, other business opportunities, and tell them about
Yes, I agree with the broadband, with Frontier and coming in and opening our streets and getting the fiber in the ground is a big step and going the right direction for our city. Spectrum is fairly manageable at times, and it has given us service over the years, but not to the level we would like it to be. There's other modes of broadband that are out there, and we should look at those too. Also, with our planning department, when a small business comes into town, wants to open up, they sometimes have to go through a bunch of hoops, and to streamline that, we need to have a checkoff sheet that they should be able to just check a box, whether they have it or they don't have it. City can check and make sure that they have what they need, and they could do a lot of it just over the counter. So those types of things would help streamline setting up their business and getting in operations so they can start making money. So those are some of the things I would suggest that we go in that direction.
Well, sounds like most of the ideas have been pretty well covered, but no, it is important to make sure that the small business owner feels that our community is accessible to them to set up their businesses, that it's affordable for them, because everyone goes into business to make money. If there's no money to be made, if they're paying so much in business licenses, property taxes, that they can't make any money opening a business here, why come to Fountain Valley? We need to make sure that that process is visible when they're looking for that opportunity, that they can see easily where that money can be made.
Okay, I'm looking at you, audience. Who has some questions? Susan?
What are your thoughts on the proposed short-term rental regulations that are coming before the Planning Commission tomorrow night?
Okay, I'm just gonna repeat it real quick for the mic. What are your opinions about the short-term rentals that are coming before planning commission tomorrow night? This time, we're gonna start down at that end, so if you wanna pass it to Sean.
I do have some concerns with STRs. Living in Tiburon is where we currently live, and is townhomes. They will not be allowed. Okay, thank you for the clarification. As long as they're well managed, I don't see an issue with it. I haven't had a chance to look at the proposal for the meeting, unfortunately. But that's the key with STRs, to make sure they're properly managed and don't cause any kind of issues within our community.
As far as short-term rentals, I've got an issue that since they are short-term, they should be treated the same as our hotels in town. There should be a percent of the transient occupancy tax that the city receives should be the same as what the hotels are paying. I think it's important that we even look at raising the percentage that we get from the hotels. Most hotels in this area are in the 15–16%. We're at 9%. I think it needs some work, and make sure that we get that on the ballot for the voters maybe in 2024. So that's my ideas, but as long as the parking doesn't become an issue in a neighborhood, that is probably the biggest complaint from neighbors, is make sure that they aren't parking all over the streets or multiple cars in the driveway and across the sidewalks.
Thank you. Well, short-term rentals for me, I voted on the issue once in the planning commission and once while I was on city council. My personal feeling is I think they should be banned in Fountain Valley, and I'll tell you why. There's short-term rentals are a business operating in a residential zone. And what I've heard from the residents is most of the residents that are living near short-term rentals don't like them. The other thing is that we all hear that there's a shortage of housing in California. We need more housing. And every time somebody, an investor, buys a short-term rental, buys a house that turns into a short-term rental, they take housing off the market. So in a regular housing market, I would be more open to the idea of a short-term rental. And the other thing I'll mention is that at the council meeting, there are some owners that occupy the homes and will rent out a room. And I think that would be a little more amenable. But investors buying homes, turning them into short-term rentals, I'm not in favor of that.
So while I 100% agree with the sentiment that single-family homes should be occupied by families, the unfortunate reality is that these short-term rentals are currently operating in Fountain Valley. I can go on Airbnb and I can book one tonight if I wanted to. And so that being said, the city is actively losing revenue off of these short-term rentals. And I have reviewed the draft proposal that's going to be going before the Planning Commission tomorrow, and was pleased to see that the requirements for operating short-term rentals in the city are very stringent. And the operators would have to abide by several different contingencies in order to legally operate their short-term rentals in the city. And I am in favor of that regulation. I'm in favor of issuing permits for these rentals so that they can be monitored. And additionally, the revenue that the city is going to be bringing in can go toward hiring more code enforcement personnel to take care of the bad actors.
Okay, anybody else? Who's next? Wallace?
Thank you. And thank you for clearing up your positions on the short-term rentals. It's good to hear that. And it's also good to hear that the majority of the sentiments support regulation. I agree with that. I think regulation is the answer. Banning isn't. I think that it brings in commerce, and I think it's actually a good thing for the city. And it just needs to be regulated. It's not our chief problem, as I see it. As a property owner, developer, and manager of several hundred units in the city, The problem that I see isn't the parking or problems caused by short-term rentals, it's the homeless situation. This is a daily occurrence for me as the president of 6 homeowners associations in this city. I hear without interruption, every day or two, some type of complaint. I have personally, in the last week, had 2 incidents. Had one today at Los Caballeros, which, by the way, that's daily. And then last week at my home, another situation, both homeless people caught on video. There's nothing we can do about it. The police really have their hands tied, so they can't do anything about it. So what I really need for the council to do is to come up with a comprehensive solution of what we can do about it. There are too many RVs floating around the city. We've had at least 2 accidents related to RVs at Los Caballeros where they were not insured, and the drivers end up having to pay for the repairs themselves. We've had a multitude of break-ins, and it all stems, 90% of all of these problems are based on homeless and transient people. So I really need for the council to come up with some solutions. If there's a cost associated, we need to pay it, but that's where I see one of our biggest problems. I'd love to hear your ideas.
Thank you, Wallace. Let's start with Steve. And we'll come, I'm trying to get everybody a chance
Sorry
to
if I
go
just handed you a grenade.
In my neighborhood, we have problems with the short-term rentals with people parking across sidewalks because the driveway is filled up, multiple cars. A lot of these people that rent these units are in car clubs, and they seem to inundate my area of Fountain Valley. However, Wallace brings up an area where there's a lot of apartments and multi-family units, all congregated in a small area. And that can be a problem. Yes, parking space over there that a lot of these RV owners will set up camp and maybe even tie into the water service in the area. Also electrical. So that can be a big problem. And that is more of I think, a management issue for the landowner there than the city council getting involved with that. So
I would beg to differ, Steve. I am the landowner, and I can't do anything about it. They will not tow a car if somebody's physically in it.
Well, this isn't going to be a back and forth conversation, because you gave what the problem was, and I'm just looking at it from the city point of view, that we can work with the homeowners to have things towed because it's against the penal code or whatever. That's what I would suggest. Go through the police department, work with them to because we do have things codified that will help solve some of those issues. And I know they did it behind Chipotle on Brookhurst, and also the bank on the corner at Brookhurst and Garfield. They put signs on the wall. A lot of the RVers have left, and they seem to have gotten the hint that they aren't wanted there. And the police drive through also, so that helps.
I personally dealt with the homeless issue in Orange County. I do private security, and I have dealt with them in Fountain Valley. I was actually attacked by one and had to deploy pepper spray by simply, very calmly asking the gentleman to move along, and he began to throw things at me. I deployed pepper spray. Had my wife, fortunately, was literally in my backyard, hand me water bottles over the fence to help this gentleman that I had just pepper sprayed because he was in a lot of pain. This is a large issue we have in our community and is growing. There needs to be a plan, and I would like to be involved with that plan, of getting a task force, a team of counselors, law enforcement, and citizens to go out and touch base with these homeless people, see what their needs are, see what we can do to help them out, and help them get a plan to move along for better situation. I've had a couple people reach out to me about a gentleman. They tried to call Fountain Valley Police. They wouldn't respond, and I heard the same thing happened at Sam's Club the other day with a lady with a dog. The Fountain Valley Police isn't responding to these homeless cases, even though we've been told that there is a homeless outreach group the Fountain Valley PD is supposed to be working with. So far, I haven't seen them doing it. It is something that I'd like to be involved with fixing in this community.
Oh, thank you for the questions, and, Wallace, I'd be happy to talk with you offline and see if there's certain things we can do to address the issues that you raised, because I was not aware of all the RV issues and I guess the degree of homeless issues that you are stating. I will say that on the city side, we have done a couple of things. In March, we made one of the largest investments in Fountain Valley history when we hired CityNet Outreach Services to try to supplement the police response to homelessness. And they've been successful in connecting some of these homeless people with services. With the RVs, I know we had a problem around Miles Square, and we informed the police, and that was addressed. The other thing we're doing is with the city of Garden Grove. We're working on them with the navigation center that's going to be located in Garden Grove. And we recently reinstated our anti-camping ordinance is back on the books. So we will be able to enforce anti-camping shortly. And very soon we need to comply with some other factors. But so that's 3 things in the last year that we've done to really try to address homelessness more actively than we have in the past. So, but I'd be happy to talk to you offline, and let's try to solve your issue.
So I agree with Mayor Harper. I've been a big supporter of the arrangement between the Fountain Valley Police and CityNet, and it is a partnership that hasn't even lasted a year, and they have already been able to have proven results. I believe in the last council meeting that I attended when Chief Shepherd gave his report, he had said that there was, at the time, about 15 encampments in Miles Square Park. CityNet was able to bring that number down into, I think, somewhere between 5 and 6 encampments. And so I think that by taking the approach of partnering with agencies like CityNet that deploy social workers to assist persons experiencing homelessness, to build up that relationship where they can help navigate these folks to the services that they need, that's the right approach. And I support continuing to fund this program and also looking into partnering with other agencies such as Be Well OC to continue to provide mental health and support services for the homeless population.
Thank you. Who's next? Marlo?
Yes, I have a question. So I was just wondering if you could let us know what your thoughts and ideas are on how the city should best address reaching their RENA numbers. So the regional housing needs assessment numbers.
So I'm just going to repeat it real quick for the camera. Marlo was asking what your ideas are on how we are going to reach our RENA numbers that are mandated by the state. This time, I think, Patrick, you started yet? Okay.
Thank you. So the Regional Housing Needs Assessment is a report that's issued by the state, and they have determined that California as a state is short by about 3 million housing units. So they said, okay, cities, you have to plan for a certain number of units in your city over the next 7 years, and our number is 4,800. And just to put that in perspective, currently we have about 19,000 dwelling units in Fountain Valley. So another 4,800's about 25% increase, and we're all built out. So where are you going to put all the units? And so what we had to do is we formed a general plan advisory committee to look at the city, and we identified several opportunity sites where we could build housing. So for instance, over by Costco in the Fountain Valley Crossings area, a couple of, the only vacant land was Euclid and Heil. There's some property there. And we said, okay, we need 4,800. You got to put a certain amount in each area. So that process is at the finish line here. We're going to submit it in October. And I think we've done a good compromise to provide for the housing, but still preserve the regular single-family neighborhoods. We're putting the housing in, places where it can handle it.
So I've been in attendance at several GPAC, Planning Commission, and council meetings, and so far I am really pleased with the direction that the city is moving to address the RENA numbers. I know that we recently approved some mixed-use zoning that would allow us to develop properties that are going to include retail businesses as well as mixed family units. I am a big supporter of building more condos and townhomes in Fountain Valley to reach our numbers. This will allow more families and young people to come into Fountain Valley to buy, to put down roots here and really experience that same love for the city that we all have. And so by continuing to look at the zoning, working with the GPAC, working with the Planning Commission, I think the city is on the right path to be able to investigate our opportunity sites and really look at all of the options available to us to meet the numbers and also remain true to our values.
Yes, well, the RENA numbers, every 6 years, I believe it is, are reevaluated. Number of housing units throughout the state are looked at. I was on SCAG when everything was voted on, after HCD came up with their numbers, were different than the way the numbers were supposed to have been figured. So they change every 8 years or so, 8 years, and it's important to know that the city has to try to plan for these units that we're given the assessment for on the housing units, but it's important that the city doesn't build houses. The city has to provide the land areas, and they're picked out. They've been assessed and evaluated. Landowners have been talked to about possibly doing it. So it's important that we have a buy-in from the community as a whole. And it's like Patrick said, we're essentially built out here in this city, but we do have areas of the city that could accommodate larger numbers of housing, maybe along the Santa Ana riverbed. We could build higher over there because of we wouldn't infringe on other neighborhoods and that type of thing, but also would be closer to transportation. A lot of the people, the low income housing units that we're trying to get filled, and we want to be able to get people in there that will use the facilities that are adjacent to where these units are built. I think it's important that we all work together and make sure that we provide the most housing, and we do it when the opportunity exists for us to accommodate those homes that we are in need of.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to attend the council members and see what's been going on with the numbers. And unfortunately, it does seem like, to an extent, the investors and developers have come in and kind of strongholded us to allow them to build more units per acre than is necessary to meet the RENA numbers. And if the contractors aren't willing to meet our city codes, then maybe another contractor investor will come in that is willing to meet those numbers. It needs to be done responsibly, make sure our infrastructure can handle the growth. I think that's the most important thing we need to look at. Thank you.
Sorry, I lost track of who I had going first. Who's next? Any more questions from our audience? Gene?
Yeah, I get these questions from Mountain Valley political blog there. We don't understand this mandate thing about the housing, because we're a city here that's basic job is taking care of families. It's not really taking care of business, it's really taking care of families. As a scientist and database guy, done all kinds of circulation problems with late times and registering all those people. I don't understand the matrix of how they make this choice that we get 4,800 houses. Is that based on just, well, what is the rule? I can't explain it to me, but I was just wondering if you could explain. coming at least three components out of that rubric that really drive how we get allocated this mandate. Because I don't see the mandate personally as being constitutional.
I don't know, Eugene, if they're able to answer these. They're not the ones that came up with those numbers. I don't know. Steve was on SCAG, but it was mandated by the state, so I'm not sure that our city council, you want to elaborate at all?
Maybe they could just answer the part about how do they vote if there's a mandate? How do you even vote on this?
Well, when HCD is given the number of housing units they feel is necessary to house the homeless throughout the state. It's a California state laws. They have worked with HCD. HCD determines by talking to all the cities in the state what they have, how many units cities think they could build or whatever. Then they come together and they have different formulas that they use. And it's when I was on SCAG, it was based upon about 1.5 million homes shortage. And that spread out through 486 cities. So it's essentially, we went from 400 and some units to 4,800 units from the one session to the next time period. So it was essentially 10 times the amount the second time or the last time that we got numbers. So it's liable to change in another 6-8 years. So we can only do what we can do now, and it's to work with builders that a lot of times they'll build the units on not so great lots right next to freeways and stuff, but they provide home ownership for people. I've been to units in Garden Grove and Anaheim. People that live there are so proud of their units. They open them up so you can go in and see it, and they've become good homeowners. And it allows them to have a place they can call home, but also they're near rapid transit, whether it's a train or a bus or even other types of bicycle lanes even. So those are all played into how numbers are evolved, but also it's usually about a half a mile travel to any major transportation.
If you guys want to say a few words about arena numbers in general and how.
Okay, yeah, I think, I'll just mention a couple of things. One of the things that Steve mentioned was proximity to transit. So the first question you think is, well, okay, you need 3.4 million homes. Well, you've got, you drive 100 miles east of here, there's plenty of land. Why don't you just build it out there? Why do you want to build it here in the middle of a built out city? And so the argument is, well, the jobs are here, and you want to build homes close to where the jobs are so that people don't have to travel as far. And by traveling less, you reduce carbon emissions. So that's one of the arguments. But anyway, proximity to public transit is a big issue. Another thing, which is not related to RENA, but sort of in general, is that the states will. I've heard from some of the state representatives, assembly and senators, that they want certain things done. So they want housing built. And if the cities are not building enough in their view, then they'll pass a law and say, okay, but we'll force you to do it. So I think what part of what's happening is the cities are dragging their feet and they say, well, we don't want any more housing here. When it happens, you build up a backlog of stuff. And then the developers complain, they say, well, there's too many, it's costing too many regulations on building. And so you add all these things together and you end up with a slowdown or houses not being built. So the senators, assembly people say that, and that's how we get RENA numbers of 4,800 for Fountain Valley. That's my We'll get off once a week.
And so I agree with everything that Mayor Harper has said, and I just wanted to elaborate on the point that, yes, we are receiving this mandate from the state government, and the role that we play, the role that the city plays in this mandate is that we're being told that we have to do something, but we get a choice in how we do it. And so we're not being told that you have to build all of this housing right away. We have to plan for it. And we have an opportunity to take the time and do the research to be planning it in a way that will allow us to grow in a sustainable fashion. And I want to reiterate for the audience that the GPAC and the Planning Commission have dedicated a lot of time and research to making sure that we're growing responsibly and that we're managing that growth. And so that's really the key role that the city will play in how we're addressing this RENA mandate, is we really get to look at those numbers and say, what is the most responsible way for the city to address this, and how can we manage this growth effectively to make sure that we're preparing for all of the service and infrastructure changes that that growth is going to bring.
Honestly, I don't have a whole lot to add to it. I have very similar questions of where did these numbers come from? Why is it that the state's mandating these specific numbers? And so that was something I'll personally see if I can find out. Know how the large state government runs. They don't make it easy to find answers to the questions they don't want us to ask. But I will look further into that myself because I am curious also.
Do you mind if I ask one more question? I promise, no more landmines.
Okay, okay.
So question to whoever wants to answer it. So there's been some talk about revenue generating for the city and ways of dealing with HH and so forth. I'd love to hear ideas for that actual revenue generation. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, I like that question a lot. So ideas about generating revenue for the city. There's lots of pensions that need to be funded, right? There's parks that need to be ran, and fire departments that need to be paid, and police that need to be paid. So what are your ideas for bringing revenue into this city?
So I'm going to answer this question from the lens of having a technology background. And so I really strongly feel that there are opportunities to take a look at what technology is out there to make it more efficient for the city to run its day-to-day operations. And I heard some earlier conversations regarding businesses and how difficult it can be sometimes to start a business in Fountain Valley. If we were able to look at how can we streamline and automate this process using technology, we're going to be saving time, and time is money. So if we can evaluate different systems that are available to add efficiency to city operations, that's going to be a huge cost saving on our city budget. And if we can streamline the process to allow new businesses to start up in Fountain Valley and not have to go through all of this red tape and all of this time, then that is a great way to really save money and streamline the city's budget through technology.
All right, with the revenue concern, I know this has been a previous bit of a hot button issue, but I believe a great source of revenue that Fountain Valley is missing out on is the dispensary issue. And I know a lot of people are against it, but personally, I think this here is a greater concern to our community than marijuana use. Alcohol causes far more damage in families and in our community than the use of legal marijuana. And I think that's a revenue source that we need to look into to bring into Fountain Valley.
As far as income and expenses, we, as a city, over the years, when we get to budget time, we always ask our directors to come up with areas where they can cut, and also look at their operations and see how efficient they are. So those are the things that I think are very important to monitor our expenses, but also what we can do to save money at the end, because we're a service provider. We don't generate widgets where we can produce more of those and get more money. We are a service-oriented city because that's what we provide. We provide police and fire protection. We provide for the water and sewer. Those things all cost money. So we have to look at, say, the reader board. Let's get that going. Let's get those monies coming in for something it's a no-brainer. We have the property to set it on. Let's start generating some money. That's I think should be done whenever we can to make sure we get it through the proper channels and get Caltrans to approve it and all that. So anyway, also our small businesses, we need to keep our small businesses operating and make sure that they're run efficiently, and they run their own business efficiently because they have the proprietor is the one that makes certain that happens. But we want to keep our businesses filled and occupied, and we want to help them wherever we can. So let's shop and eat in Fountain Valley.
Thank you. Yeah, so the revenue question. Well, the primary sources of revenue for the city are property taxes and sales tax. And if you look at those two, we want to maximize those through keeping Fountain Valley a nice place to live. Property values keep going up. And so because of Prop 13, if you own the property and keep it, it only goes up 10% a year. But every time those properties sells, a property that's got an assessed value of say 200,000 now is $1 million, and that increases the city coffers. A couple of things we've done while I've been on council. One is we approved a new ambulance program. So we are now the biller of ambulance services, and by doing that, we're able to save about 600,000 a year. I think it's over $1 million now. The fire department costs. So that's not really revenue generation, but it's a way to rethink the way that we've done business. The other thing we approved was a reader board on the freeway, expected to generate $1 million per year to the city. So those are a couple of things, but people always come up with new great ideas. I'm happy to consider them as long as it's not a tax. I'm not in favor of higher taxes.
Okay, so we are about out of time. I just want to ask one quick question, just a comment. Fountain Valley is a nice place to live, to do business, and it's a very tight-knit community. So just really quickly on our way out, are you, if elected, will you be out at community events, chamber events, foundation events in the city so that you can be a part of that community where people can have access to you and that sort of thing? You just want to make a quick comment and we'll end it up.
So I'll kick things off by saying that I am so glad that there are some really, really fun events that have been happening this summer in Fountain Valley, and I've been volunteering at all of them. So I was formerly on the board of director for the Fountain Valley Community Foundation, and I continue to serve as a volunteer. I've also participated in some great fundraisers and great events in the city to support our local businesses and to support our educators. And it's just so wonderful that there's such a wealth of opportunity in the city to really have those face-to-face interactions with the community. And if elected, I will continue to serve and continue to be a friendly face. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Getting out in the community. It's one of the great things about being on the city council. You get to meet so many wonderful people and people in the community. didn't realize how much extra time it takes, but it's all worth it. And I was from being at the Moon Festival in Miles Square, Lobster Festival, Barbecue Festival, Summerfest, Community Chamber Breakfast, Crawfish Festival, all that kind of stuff. Mayor's Breakfast, which is coming up September 22nd. But really, and then every Thursday I've been doing a Facebook Live at somewhere different in the city to highlight people in the city. But I do want to not forget that while I've been mayor, I've really tried to recognize the city employees and the staff, the police, the fire, public works, all those people, because they are so important to making the city, keeping the city running and making it what it is today. And so that's what I'd say. If you see a city employee, say thanks for keeping Fountain Valley great.
Yes, I've been a volunteer in the city since probably 2005, after I retired. Even before, I was part of the fire association, and we did a lot in the community then. I've been lucky enough to be a member of the Kiwanis Club in Fountain Valley for 15 years, and also with the Boys and Girls Club for over 13 years as a board member. And we've had quite a good success with the Boys and Girls Club. We operate 7 facilities and serve over 11,500 children in our facility here in Fountain Valley and also throughout Huntington Beach. And we have recently raised almost $200,000 in just one day because of very giving people throughout Huntington Beach and Fountain Valley. And it's great because they kept their doors open all through COVID and served first responders and nursing staff both at Fountain Valley, Orange Coast, and as well as Hope Hospital. So it's gratitude that we have as a club, but the club is there to serve the community, and I'm happy to be part of that.
Absolutely. Me and my wife and our teenage daughters, when we can convince them to do so, will gladly be out in the community enjoying the events that are put on. My wife and I both grew up here, and that's always been one of the wonderful things. We were just talking earlier, trying to beat the heat, talking about Christmas. We missed the Heil Christmas lights. That was such a great community event. That's something that's very sad that we've lost in our community. People came from all over Orange County for that event. But we look forward to being a part of the community that we grew up in and continuing to serve the community and making new friends.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days to come and meet with us today and tell us more about yourselves. We look forward to seeing you all again on the 27th at the official candidates forum. And next Tuesday, we will have another 4 candidates for us to ask questions and find out more about them. So stay tuned for both of those events. Also, if you notice on your table, we try to scatter them around a little bit. There's some everywhere. These are the candidate questionnaires that they filled out online. And we just finished them yesterday. So they will be going up on the Chamber's website and out in the Chamber e-blast, but we just kind of brought them as a preview because we got them done. So if you would like to check those out, make sure to stay tuned on the Chamber's website. So thanks for joining us.